They say it takes 2 days for a dog to start eating its owner's body. The impact felt like a sledgehammer to my chest. I collapsed onto the floor. I must have hit my head on something because when I regained consciousness, my forehead was sticky with blood. My whole body ached. I could breathe, but only just barely. I had been in the basement, finally cleaning the shelves I had been putting off for weeks. No one would have heard me fall. The only other living thing in the house was my girlfriend's dog, Toby. She had adopted him from a shelter, even though no one else wanted him. Toby was a scruffy little mutt with wiry gray fur speckled with brown patches. Definitely not a purebred. I was never a dog person. He was quiet, didn't pee in the house, and Alice took care of him most of the time. I was now regretting how silent he was. If only he barked constantly, maybe a neighbor would have heard and come to check on me. But no, Toby just wandered over to my collapsed body and stared at me with an unnerving stillness. He didn't whimper. He didn't nudge me. He just stood there, watching. I tried to make my mouth work, to tell him to get help, but all that came out was a weak, gurgling sound. My tongue felt thick and useless. Toby finally stepped closer, sniffing my head and letting out a quiet whine. His warm tongue lapped at the blood on my forehead. It stung at first, but after a few licks, the pain dulled. Once the blood was cleaned, he nudged my neck and whined again. I wanted to beg him to start barking, to make noise, anything to alert someone that I needed help. But all I could do was lie there, feeling the minutes tick by. I could see the clock on the wall moving so slowly. I just had to wait until Alice came home. She was due back in the morning. I could last that long, right? I didn't feel like I was getting worse, just had to hold on. I could survive. What I didn't count on was Toby's hunger. He was used to getting fed 3 times a day. Alice spoiled him with fresh food that cost as much as our own groceries, but Toby loved it. When noon came and I failed to get up and feed him, he grew impatient. His little claws clicked against the linoleum as he paced back and forth. He pawed at the fridge, then returned to my side, whining. Why wasn't I feeding him? He was obviously starving, even though he'd had breakfast that morning. 30 minutes past his usual lunchtime, Toby growled. I had never heard him growl before. It was low, angry. I imagined him glaring at me. For the first time, I thought he might bark, but he didn't. Instead, he bit me. His teeth sank deep into my calf. The pain was blinding. Toby didn't let go. He pulled, dragging me a few inches across the floor before my skin gave way. A chunk of flesh tore from my leg. I couldn't scream. I could only listen as he chewed, swallowed. I wanted to throw up. That stupid dog had just eaten part of me, and he liked it. He went back for seconds. Mercifully, I passed out. By the time I came to, the pain was unbearable. Toby was licking the open wound as if trying to soothe it, or maybe just enjoying the taste of my blood. I couldn't turn my head to see the damage. I didn't want to. The afternoon passed in a haze of agony and unconsciousness. Then came dinner time. I heard the growl again. My body forced me awake. I wanted to shove him away, to kick him across the room, but I couldn't even twitch a finger. I thought he'd go for my leg again. He didn't. He moved into my line of sight. Blood still stained his muzzle, and now his eyes gleamed with something feral, pure. Hunger. My stomach turned to ice. I shut my eyes as he lunged. His small teeth tore into my cheek. Then again and again, I felt the cold air against my gums, my teeth. There was no more skin to protect them. I tried to blink, but my right eye wouldn't close. There was no eyelid left to close. There was no eye left to protect. At some point, I drifted away into unconsciousness. Toby must not have been in the mood for a midnight snack. I don't know how much of my face remained by the time Alice arrived home the next morning, but the way she screamed told me everything.